Donadio, a former member of the US Secret Service, an elected Republican official. He joins me now from Maryland. Afternoon, I suppose, for you, Barry.
Yeah, that's right. How are you? Thank you for having me.
No. Well, it's good to have you as well. Thank you very much for your time. Barry, loads to talk to you about and go through. Just firstly, the reaction, your reaction. I mean, Donald Trump there, and we heard Pete Hegseth. He was very, very positive and upbeat in his tone, celebrated the strike. They're considering it a success. Do you agree?
Yes, it was a success. I of course, follow these things. I'm an analyst now. I keep an eye on everything going on. And yes, it was a success, and it was no surprise to me. It may have been a surprise to others, but I kind of saw this coming. I must confess, I was one of the ones saying that Donald Trump would be able to pull off a peace deal. And I really believed that, and I was hoping, just like the rest of the world, that would happen between the Iranian regime and the Trump administration. And after 5 rounds of negotiation, obviously, as we all know now, something went horribly wrong. And I trace it really back to the Iranian Supreme Leader's Twitter post, as well as his foreign minister, Saeed Abbas, about 24 hours before the Israeli attack. I was surprised to see during these negotiations that the Supreme Leader was chanting, that the parliament of Iran should take a revolutionary approach towards the West. And then his foreign minister at the same time period there, the same day, was saying, if the United States dares to even defend Israel, we're going to attack U.S. military bases in the Middle East. And I, to be honest, I think that's the straw that broke the camel's back right there. And Israel decided to go in. I think even maybe the Americans said, you know what, we're going to prepare, as you know, they were saying on the news, we're sending a couple of aircraft carriers over there, readying our forces. We saw a great deal of military assets moving to the Middle East, closer to Iran. And, I believe Trump was genuine. I believe the Israelis were genuine with the negotiation, but I just think those two statements alone really kind of corrupted it, and they just maybe made the calculation at that point, well, they're not getting anywhere with the Iranians. They're probably just buying time so they could just one day wake up and tell the world, we have a nuclear bomb, and that's it. And then they would perceive that they're untouchable.
But at the same time, Barry, a decision to execute, to fly all the way halfway across the world and drop those MOPs on 3 nuclear sites. I mean, is that really the correct decision in this situation? I mean, not to escalate the issue at all, or is it the right decision? And also, isn't it a risky decision?
Yeah, risky 100%. You're 100% right to say that. I guess if we trace the history and the British and the Americans know this story. This goes back to 1979 when the Islamic Revolution occurred and the Ayatollah Khomeini took power. We saw the American embassy invaded and they took hostages and wouldn't give them back. That's not something any other country does. This is the same regime. It's the same regime from 1979 that did that. And we've had ups and downs with diplomacy with them, but we also have to remember, J.D. Vance said this just in a recent press conference. It is Iran that has been training militias to, attack our forces when we were in the Middle East, in Iraq and Afghanistan. We took casualties, and that was from the Iranians training militias to work against us. So, as far as I'm concerned, militarily speaking, and a lot of Americans that have been alive since 79, remember, it's been a long time coming. Now, we wanted peace, and that's why we voted for Trump to be in office, to get peace. But this is a fine balance of almost like mission impossible because the clock is ticking. I mean, we see on their own Twitter pages that they chant that they're going to eradicate Israel, which is an ally not only of us, the United States, but England, France, many others. It's intolerable. And the difference is, and I get this question a lot, why is Israel allowed to have a nuclear weapon and not the Iranian regime? And that's an easy question for me, because Israel doesn't threaten nations to eradicate them and nuke them when they get a nuclear weapon. That's the difference. And from the Iranian regime, we hear outlandish statements and calls for action. Even now they're playing the victim. We saw the foreign minister just yesterday at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, and basically going in there like now Iran is the victim. I found that very surprising. But yeah.
Well, what I don't understand in this, with what you're saying though, is why did Donald Trump feel compelled to get involved in this to the manner that he has, when, as you said, you and many others voted him in on the ticket of he was a peace president. He didn't want to get involved with foreign affairs and foreign wars.
Yeah, even now, he wants them to come to the negotiation table, even now. But I think there's negotiation, there's peace talks, but if the other side isn't interested in any kind of resolution, which is, I think, what they came to, and then, the Twitter posts I mentioned only inflamed the situation. It was only 24 hours after that Israel attacked. So I think you're right. We wanted him to bring a happy ending to this. We were ready to open up trade with the regime, but I just think, there's too much divide, I guess, at this point. 5 rounds of negotiation. The people that are behind the closed doors or at the negotiation table just saw this and said, these guys are just playing around. Now we've heard Secretary Rubio say some stronger statements that the Americans were willing to agree to let them have nuclear power for peaceful purposes. Although the news was reporting that wasn't even on the table, he now came out and said, yeah, we were offering that, and they wouldn't even consider that. So I found that to be, if statement is true, which I believe it is, Mr. Rubio is a direct guy. I've been around him, and I trust him. So I believe that's true, and I think that Iran was kind of playing a shuffling game here to buy more time, or maybe even get their military assets into position to maybe do something. And I guess we'll never know, because thank goodness this was, in my opinion, a race against time. Now we've heard Putin's right-hand man, Dmitry Medvedev, if I pronounced that right, he's now saying on his Twitter page that there's a number of countries ready to supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads. Mm-hmm. Now, that statement alone, the first priority was to take down the nuclear abilities of the Iranian regime. I've always said, through my analysis, that the regime change is the secondary goal.
Well, on that regime change point, sorry to interrupt here, but I just want to read a quote that we found on social media it's a new Donald Trump quote on that regime change, and this is what he said: "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?" So all of a sudden, we've gone from negotiating table, 2 more weeks to negotiate, to this is only on the nuclear site, so one and done. And now the comments that are coming out are that Donald Trump is saying, why wouldn't there be a regime change? Is that going to cause alarm with the Republicans who just want him to focus on domestic affairs?
Well, he has focused on the domestic affairs. That right away when he came in office, the price of gasoline is down and still remains down. Some foods have gone down. Life is livable, and there's an improvement as far as economics since he has been in. We've seen him work at Rwanda, right? He solved that war where he's was a mediator and brought them the peace. And we also see this between Pakistan and India. He's taking full credit for the ceasement of hostilities between those two countries. So I think really his goal, really, because we all know he wants that peace prize, right? And he wants to be a peacemaker. There's no doubt about this from his inner circle and those that have been around him. I was elected as a Trump delegate, so I'd like to think that I know the man, and he was genuine. I think this was very close to being a peace deal. And, for what it's worth, I guess watch what you put on Twitter, especially if you're the Ayatollah and you're putting out certain things. But the real race against time now is what Dmitry put and stated, that a number of countries are now looking to give Iran nuclear warheads. So in my opinion, militarily speaking, that regime has to collapse quicker, because now do you want another country flying a nuclear warhead in to give to the supreme leader, and only to use it
Well, then
against
that would cause
Israel?
other countries to also step in as well, wouldn't it? Barry, I just want your thoughts. One last question, particularly given your unique position. Former member of the US Secret Service, also an elected Republican official. What do you see happening now, particularly in the United States, going forward? More support, more lobby to keep going, or this is it? Just you've made your point, you've done this act, that's it.
I think what is going to dictate what happens here is the next 72 hours of what comes out of the mouth of the Iranian regime, what they post on Twitter and their social media accounts, what they say in public, and are they going to meet at the negotiation table, give up their nuclear weapons program forever, and somehow continue as a regime. Me personally, my prediction is I see this regime collapsing. I see the exiled prince of Iran being brought in. I see them using the flag of the lion and the sun, and until the country can become democratically led, I would see the exiled Shah to be in place once the government falls. That is my prediction.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of the people in Iran, we don't hear much from them, but for many of them, the pushback is having someone put in from external, whether there is a regime change or not. It's something that Iranians want from within as well. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on. Barry, thank you for your time. Barry Donadio there.